with a note on it.
Mm.
You use this cob and save your job. Well, the boss found out.
Yeah.
Who did that? He never told me.
Well, I tell you right now, I've seen some of the funniest things and queerest things. But after the last 10 years, I ran a job as what they call a frequency checker, frequency analysis. Of course, this was with Milligan.
Yeah.
And the man that hired me for that job told me, says, you only check one person at a time, one job. If anybody else comes on your job, you tell them to go to hell and get off of your job. So I went out there and went to work, and everything was going smooth. And one day this same man got promoted to plant manager, and he came in on my job. And he was the one that hired me. I went over there, I said, do you remember what you told me? He looked at me and said, what? I said, I expect you better start going to hell. I said, you're in the way out here. He looked at me just as hard. He didn't say a word. He just turned and walked off. Well, I figured he turned me in. So I went in that afternoon, and everything was just like normal. Nothing was happening. And I stood as long as I could. I went over to my supervisor and I says, has the plant manager been in? He says, he came through. I said, he didn't say nothing? He said, no. I said, are you sure? He said, positive. Why? I told him. He said, you didn't tell him? I said, I didn't know of a better person to tell than him. I said, he was the one taught it to me. I said, but the supervisors was worse when I first went to work on that job than the help was. They would want a job done, and they'd get in there and start helping. And if we hadn't had some good supervisors in our industrial and engineering department, we would have been out of luck. They'd help us. They'd take care of us.
Now, could you go back to 34? I know you were in high school at the time, but did you ever see the National Guard come here?
Oh, yeah.
Could you talk about that?
Well, no, not actually. I didn't. Only thing I know, Mama wouldn't let us go around the plants. And all I know is when we'd people to come in and tell us that the guards was down there, and when the older brothers and sisters would come in that they were down there to make it safe enough for them to get in. But actually, as far as me knowing, because Mama was one of those that didn't let her children roam all over the place. You were lucky if you got away from her. you had to be real smart, because she believed in knowing where her kids was at all times.
Now, we have some newsreel footage of the guards rounding up these people.
She's all right.
Rounding up these people in Noonan, Georgia, and carting them off to Fort McPherson.
We had some of that here, but I didn't see it, and I wasn't.
And the Rainwater Sisters actually recognized some of the people in it. We put it on their VCR and showed it to them. I wonder if we showed that to you, if you would be able to recognize any of the people from they said people from LaGrange also were involved in that.
Well, there was some. Now, I heard about it.
Would you like to see that footage?
I wouldn't mind it.
We'll just put it right up there on your television set.
Yeah, where's the
Okay.
VCR out in the truck?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't remember Peanut ever say anything about getting on one of those trucks. But
So this is Macon, I think.
we're
not up to Noonan yet.
I can guarantee you they didn't dare him, because if they had, he'd been right in the middle of it.
Did you pay off like that?
No, I didn't ever pay off like that. I've seen people that paid off like that. All the time after I went to paying off, they paid off in checks.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them paid like that. I know And I've been down to the plant to get some of the brothers and sisters money and when there's working and go pay bills.
As well as men are taken in the militia's net. The strikers submit peacefully and are hustled off before bristling bayonets. State highway trucks are used to transport the prisoners, numbering about 200, many of them women and girls. This drastic action, authorities explain, is taken to prevent threatened violence. Specifically, those arrested are charged with attempting to prevent the reopening of the Noonan Mills. Reminiscent of World War days is the hastily constructed internment camp in which the strikers are confined. This one is in back of Fort McPherson at Atlanta. Armed guards patrol the barbed wire enclosure surrounding the camp while the prisoners learn how it feels to be on the inside looking out. Chow time finds a lot of healthy appetites, and the incarcerated ladies make the best of their predicament. It's good old army grub, plain but nourishing, and the state is paying for it.
I'll cut out the sound because the rest of it's not a sound. The rest of it's just silent footage, but you'll see it. See if you spot people. How does that turn
That's
blue?
his set, not.
Our color
It's going like
isn't.
it goes and comes.
Yeah.
You have color sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
And even on the same program.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard for them to see.
Let me see if I can
Okay, see if
convince
you
it
can-
to.
Okay.
I will pick the tube, I guess, went out on that big one. Now, daughter and her husband was good enough to bring this one up here.
No, this is, I think, one trick. Let me try. No, it's slipped into, it's gonna have to, it's going blue. There's a, it's a little color controller.
Uh-huh.
You can see how the brightness
Okay,
is.
Jamie, do you want to go out and get our set?
Yeah, I'll bring the monitor.
Okay, we've got
Oh.
another. We've got another set that we can just set
Well-
up here. More of that footage that was shot then.
Look at the cars, Mama. Oh, we had those antique cars out the mall this last weekend. Not this weekend, but the last weekend.
Recognize that guy?
Mm-mm. Isn't he black?
Look at his hands.
Yeah, I see it now.
Tell us about your brother.
Well, he was just one of these high-strung people.
Just start my brother.
My brother was just one of these high-strung people, and he went out with the people on strike. And he just didn't think anybody's supposed to go across that picket line. And you had to watch him, because if he comes up and you did something, he might be one of those that would whoop you one with those picket sticks.
So you called it a picket stick, and I've heard people use picker stick. Is it? It's the same thing.
They call it the same thing, yeah. It's really something looks like a rifle, except doesn't have that big of a handle on the back of it. And they just hold them in that grip and use them. And they must have been made out of good stuff, because some of them would busted all to pieces on the hard heads.
How did the factory, how did the plant handle the protection here?
Well, they had some of the National Guards to come down, and they'd have to stand there and watch people as they went in and out the gate. And I think actually they had some National Guards that actually walked to, like you saw them in front of that barbed wire fence a while ago. That's about when they started fencing in the mills, was when They'd have a National Guard walking across.
All of this is in Fort Mac.
I remember hearing them about it. And they picked up some here at LaGrange and kept them in jail till they got trucks to carry them up there. I've heard that. That's why I was wondering if my brother didn't accidentally get into one of those. He had a heart of gold, bless his heart, but he thought he was right. Lois, you remember those old dresses? I don't see how women worked in the mill with those long dresses on, swiping the floors.
Well, them short.
Of course, these girls got picked up when they were out. They were out picketing, you see.
Mm-hmm. It looked like down here at Oak Grove at the fair. All the people. Is that one of the ladies that you had a picture of?
Yeah.
That second one there?
Uh-huh.
Thought I recognized that.
They kept them down there for a week.
Mm-hmm. But they did feed them. I stayed in Fort McPherson for a while when I was inducted.
So did I.
But I went in on the 25th. Stayed till I was back home, worked the 30th. Worked all day that day and married that night. Then went back to the Army the next week.
And you want to look at, see if your brother's in any of this.
Well, they look happy enough. They're comparing what they're eating. What's the number for?
That's it's a code for us when we're cutting film.
Uh-huh.
It won't be there on the final print.
It's kind of like a catalog number.
That girl that I was doing talking just then, she looks like somebody from LaGrange.
Which
The
one?
one that's just looking up.
Yeah, the one that's right next to the first face you can see from the left side there. See, there's one you can't see her face. It's the next one.
Do you happen to remember a name?
Now I'm trying to put them in with something that. can't remember. Well, who's serving them?
The Army.
I don't think I've seen the face of one of them that's brought the food out. Well, somebody pouring coffee or something out of the way.
It's kind of like a chow line.
Yeah. I remember like it was when I was in Texas and they was giving us shots. Great big guy ahead of me. The nurse hit him. Well, two nurses, one on each side hit him, and he hit the ground. I scared those nurses to death. Because they were civilian nurses. Our camp, they wasn't big enough to have a nurse. They just had civilian nurses.
Some of those fellows might be from the Grange.
You know, people look so funny in that, don't they?
Yeah.
Just think they are old men. You know, one of the most pitiful sights was when you'd see those people that didn't go back to work, had to move, and they couldn't afford a moving van. They just had to get somebody that had a truck to move them. It always broke my heart when I saw it. And I said, well, why should it? I said, they asked for it. They're the ones that was in trouble. Lois, did you ever give Jimmy his drink?
Yeah, it's right here.
What happened to your brother? Tell us about your brother.
Well, he finally moved down to Pine Mountain. You know, remember when the Callaways opened that place up? And they took these people and gave them a place to live. Or actually, they were supposed to have sold it to them, and they were supposed to pay some, I don't know how much. And he lived down there several years. Had a great big garden, a good house. They were all new houses when Pine Mountain was just built down in the valley. And that's where a lot of the strikers from the Grange went, was Pine Mountain. And then they were given stuff and sold stuff to them cheap where they could get back on their feet. And shoot, I went down and stayed some. I enjoyed it. Had a big town down there. Some of the people I had known from here in LaGrange was down there. Had a bukus of them, and well, that's that same girl again.
Notice they all have fancy hairdos. Well, so that's it.
Well, I didn't. That one girl's the only one I even think that I might have known, but I can't remember.
Talk about your brother in Pine Mountain a little bit. As I recall it, Pine Mountain was a government project, wasn't
Mm-hmm. That's right.
it? You might tell us about that.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about it because at that time, see, I wasn't nothing but a kid either. And it's before I came out of high school. And I just go down there and they had enough space to have a real big garden. Cows, hogs, chicken, and of course, like everything else, it went bad because everybody kept abusing it. They wouldn't take care of things down there. And a lot of them wasn't farmers to begin with. They didn't know how to take care of it. And my brother and his wife had 6 kids, I believe. I believe they only had 3 when they moved down there, and then there was 3 afterwards. And then after that, his wife finally divorced him. He was punch drunk, and his health was bad, and he couldn't work. And we had to take him. But bless his heart, he'd go back and try to go to work. He went down to Opelika and worked. The guy where he just couldn't work no more. They came back up here and lived in the housing project for several years, wasn't it?
He died of that.
And that was his second marriage, and he only had 1 child by his second marriage. And
I didn't realize, I think we can cut now, Jamie.
Rolling.
All right, Bill, I want you to start off by telling me how old you are and then how you got into textiles, right
Yes.
from the beginning.
Well, tell me when to start.
1 second. I'm fine. Whenever you're ready, Bill.
I'm Bill Woodham. I'm 78 years old. I was 78 back in February this year. And I got my start in textiles when I was born. My mother and daddy was in the textile business when I was born. As I grew up, got old enough to go to work, I went to work in the mills. I went to work in the mills August, I believe it was, of 1926. And I become 14 and a half years old. I went to work in the mill. I've been in the mills ever since. With the exception of 2 years, a little over 2 years, I was in service in the Navy during World War II. The rest of my time been spent in the textile plant. Yeah,
What have you done?
I started working in the weave room. My father was a weaver, and I had 2 sisters older than I, who were already weaving. Actually, I went to work in the weave room with them. Back in those days, the families working all in one department. They don't do it now for business reasons. In case somebody's sick in the family or dead in the family, you almost have to shut a department down. So they try to scatter them out throughout the plants. So I went to work in the weave room doing the various cleaning jobs and supporting jobs. And I worked about 6 months, I guess, or a year, 6 months or 9 months before I started learning to weave. And they put me on stand of looms, and I wove for, I guess, 15 years before I started fixing looms.
Could you go back and tell us how long you worked, when you got up, and what you made?
Back then, 1926, 27, went up until the NRA come in effect. We worked from 6 o'clock in the morning until 12 in the daytime. We had an hour off for lunch. Had mill whistles back then. They'd blow the mill whistle for lunchtime, and had a whistle that blew as a notice, 15-minute notice, give you time to get to the mill. We all had to walk from home to mills. So we go back in to work at 1, work until 5, and if business was good, we worked till 6. And when the night shift would come in at 6, the night shift usually worked from 6 to 6, 12 hours. There wasn't anything such as overtime back in those days. Work many hours you wanted to, or could, but there's no overtime figured in it. One of the things that's hard for people to understand nowadays is we got paid in cash back in those days. Put our money in a little envelope, dollar bills, $2 bills, $5 bills, and change and silver, even pennies. It figured down to the penny. It was written on the front of the envelope how much money you had in the envelope. And at quitting time, Saturday morning, or whenever the last shift finished, we'd line up and we'd have little yellow slips of paper. We'd walk up and claim our pay slip, our pay envelope. I well remember the first envelope I got was $7.50. My mother let me take it and go buy me a shotgun. I walked all the way to town, which was about 2 miles, bought that shotgun, brought it home on my shoulders 2 miles back. I was only 14 and a half years old. I felt like I was a grown person with that gun on my shoulder. The mills ran along like that until President Roosevelt was elected, and he brought the NRA in effect, the 8-hour shifts. That changed everything in the textile industry. We could just see a gradual improvement, a change, just pretty often, you know, in the way of running the mills. The management just had to figure out some way or another to keep us on jobs and keep us busy where they could make money, because we had to have a guaranteed wage. I think it's 25 cents an hour when it first came in effect. It was back in those days, a quarter was a big piece of money. The management had to keep us busy to make us earn that guaranteed wage, or try to make us earn it. We noticed improvements steadily as the years progressed, you know.
How did the management change to make you earn that money?
They would try to keep us busy doing something other. If we caught up a job, they'd try to find us something else to do. Like if when I first started, I was in just a supporting group, you know. I'd pick up quills and yarn all off the floor and all this, that, and the other. As I learned to do other jobs, when I catch that job up, they put me around helping the others that wasn't caught up. Person having trouble with the job, that's the way they started improving the work schedule for us.
Now, I've heard people talk about the stretch out. Could you talk about that, use the term and then explain it?
Yeah, they use the term stretch out as when they give us more workload. Talking about weave room, which I was in, they'd be running 10 looms, and you'd be doing pretty good, making pretty good money on 10 looms. Well, they'd give you 2 extra looms, no extra pay. They call it the stretch out system. Now I go into a plant, one person running a whole acre of loom, just about it. But they have improved so that it's possible to do that.
Well, now in 1940,